What is up, my Lorcana Goons? And welcome back to another episode of the Monday Meta Watch with Zach Stone. My name's Kevin. We're going to go over Lorcana meta trends, tournament results, and what you should be expecting at your next tournament, especially after we just saw a win from one of the best players in Lorcana. We have Zan Syed taking down the Charlie's Collectible 25k, which was also a CCQ, by the way. So this man is going to the Continental Championship with Amethyst Amber Monstro Infinite combo. This is a pretty cool deck. It's been around for a while and really slept on, in my opinion, right, Zach?
Yeah, my Lorcana Goons. This is going to be the flavor of the week. I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there that I expect a lot of people to want to play this deck because of how broken it is. Honestly, it's like plain Blurple, except you have like this like button that you can push and you win the game. It's crazy. And we saw Zansayed pilot it to near perfection, and honestly, one of the best players in the game, and with the fire that the man has to have from the world championship and being on that gif that we've all seen, I can tell he wants to win worlds, and he made sure to book his ticket to continentals with this CCQ win, and in great fashion too, because we see the deck list have a lot of the cards that we remember from the original combo, but with some new additions. Of course, Amethyst have gotten some really amazing tools, and Amber getting the new Horseman Strikes gives it an option to remove some evasives that were a lot more difficult to deal with.
Horseman Strikes is such an underrated card right now. In the evasive meta that we're in, I've said it before, this is just a better version of Brawl. Lorcana Goons, if you have not been playing since the pre-rotation, Brawl was a 3-cost action that just defined the meta before. And I think Horseman Strikes really deserves to kind of be there. I think the problem is, though, that Amber can be kind of a lackluster color, right? But pairing it with Amethyst, dude, when you look at this deck, there's not that many Amber cards. It's the one Donald, the one Circle of Life, and the one Alanadale. Then you got 4 copies of Lantern Horseman Strikes and 2 copies of Huey. The Amber cards in this deck, the 6 of them are trying to lower the cost of your characters. 3 of them are one-ofs for your infinite combo, like you said, the auto button to just win the game, which we'll explain in a sec. And then 4 of the Horseman Strikes, which lets you draw a card and pop an evasive character on the board. It's too good a value sometimes in a deck where you're already kind of cheating out some characters with the Lanterns and the Hueys. And honestly, I think purple has just solidified itself as the best color in Lorcana. Flat out, Amethyst is just a tier over every other color, and I think it's obvious why, right? This is the only color that realistically has draw power in Lorcana. The ink identity for Amethyst has not really changed, and all the draw cards go to this color. You have Demona, the Woodchuck Guidebook, Genie, etc. Even Royal Guard gains strength when you draw a card, so there's some very interesting interactions you get to have as you're playing this deck. You're able to control the board while simultaneously giving yourself an extra win condition. It's because sometimes you don't even win off that combo. You could just win off of taking over the game, right, Zach?
These tools this deck has and the explosivity with that combo, it's going to be able to maneuver a lot of game states and be favorable most of the time. We have 2 copies of Madam M Elephant too, and I do want to talk about something that Zan did multiple times, and that's Cheshire Cat boosting, and not only boosting over the course of 2 or 3 turns, he would stack that card with multiple cards under it, and an elephant return it to hand, and all those cards under it go to the hand as well. It's like drawing more cards, and that's kind of unfair. So I personally think that Amethyst has gotten way too many strong cards, and the draw aspect I think is what puts it on top, because it's able to consistently find these cards and find these bombs. And again, if you guys aren't aware of the combo, we are going to go over it with you very shortly, but the way to get to the combo and not just knowing the way is kind of interesting. Alan Adale is a one of, but this 4 costs 2 strength, 3 willpower character does say that whenever you play a song, you will gain a lore. And I want that to be, emphasis that we're only playing 1 copy. That means this card is just never seen the light of day until you are able to get the combo off. Mind you, there are some matchups where playing it isn't the worst, but we'll go over some situations of how the combo works and what you'll need available in order to pull it off.
And don't forget, if you like this content so far, like, comment, and subscribe if you want to be part of the Lorcana Goons community. Here we have our Amethyst Amber deck loaded up. We're actually facing off against an Amethyst Steel, reminiscent of the actual finals of the Charlie's Collectible Show event. But all we had to do so far within the course of like 8 turns is set up a Monstro and set up a Great Illuminary. And if you don't know what Great Illuminary does, you can move a character here, then that character gains the ability to exert itself to draw a card. We move the Monstro into the Illuminary for 1 ink. That's why you see 7 ink available here. And now we could just start using the Monstro ability that is gained off of the Illuminary. We'll get to draw a card. See, we'll get to exert to draw a card. And now if we want to, we can go ahead and use Monstro's other ability to discard a card and re-ready himself. We already have Illuminary on board, so we don't need another one. And we can just keep doing that over and over and over and over and over again until we see the pieces we need. And I'm actually going to keep doing that while Zach adds a little bit more to that.
We have a situation, and this is like with enough ink where you can play the Alanadale, and you even have enough ink to just play We Know the Way. But the goal is to get this deck count to 0. We're going to fast forward that process. Oh, wow. That's funny. You drew the Piggy Bank Collector Donald. So that's basically how you did the combo before the Great Illuminary became a thing. But yeah, I don't think 4 copies is enough. So we got to play that 5th one, and that's just the OG. Circle of Life has to be there to kind of like be able to bring back your Alanadale if that ever does go in the discard pile, and you don't have 3 copies of We Know the Way, because there is a way to get the Alanadale also on the board for free. When you do empty your deck out to 0, if you have at least 2 copies of We Know the Way, then We Know the Way can bring back the Alanadale essentially, and then your second We Know the Way is how you do the We Know the Way combo. But yeah, the Piggy Bank Donald was the just original way to do this, and it's not necessary because you have the Great Illuminary, which is not only cheaper as an infinite cost, it's just a lot better because in certain board states, you don't need to quest, and getting cards is kind of what you want to be at. You don't have friends on the other side anymore either, which was very important to be able to have additional cards in your hand, because you do need to be able to like discard cards and keep certain combo pieces in your hand. So you do need to start the combo usually with about 4 to 5 cards in your hand to be able to do that comfortably. But as long as you know what cards you need and how much ink you can do it with, it's really about just like efficient timing and playing to your outs. This deck is again really powerful. There wasn't much interaction that you have to do except getting to a certain ink point, and you have cards like Lantern and Huey to play characters for a cheaper cost.
And here we are, guys, down to our last 2 cards. I'm gonna draw, I'm gonna discard the Royal Guard, and now I have 1 card in my deck. Zach Stone, what do we do next?
7 ink, so we can play Alanadale, and then we can play our We Know the Way. All right, Kevin, so we're in our discard right now, and we're going to go ahead and select another copy of We Know the Way with We Know the Way. Now, what We Know the Way is a 3-cost inkable song, and you shuffle a chosen card from your discard into your deck. Then reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's the same name of the chosen card, you may play the revealed card for free. Otherwise, you put it to your hand. If you choose We Know the Way is the card, and you may play it for free. What do you do now? And that's choose another We Know the Way. And you'll do this until you win the game.
Let's go. Infinite combo. I love it. Wow, dude. This is so funny. Okay, so put yourself to 0 cards. We Know the Way until We Know the Way. And Alanadale would just keep getting you lore, right? Oh, here it is. Here's the stack. Yeah. So, and here's the stack of all the Allens that we get to resolve. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm geeking out. This is hilarious, bro. I love this. I can imagine how much fun Zenside was having. We could do it again. We could just do it again because we could ready Monstro.
Yes.
We could discard. Yes. And then we could just sing.
Yes.
We could just sing. Yes. Oh my goodness. How is how is Monstro like a dollar card? Oh, We Know the Way. We Know the Way. This is so cool. I can't believe that this was something that we slept on, bro. Like it's so easy. It is so easy to do, guys, that even a kid can do it. Even a kid could do it. Huge. This is me getting infinite comboed by Everett at our locals. He plays the deck. That's his discard pile, and he's gonna go ahead and add his second We Know the Way, and he kills me here. You know, if you guys want to try this deck out, highly recommend it. I think it's funny.
Yep.
And there we
Look at
go.
that. It's the same
It's-
animation as Inkdex.
You see what I mean,
He's
bro?
doing it.
Well, yeah, like
Yeah.
so easy, so easy. A kid can do it. Hey, Everett is not just any kid though. Him and his brother, they're beasts. They're so good at Lorcana. But man, that is how you do the infinite combo. Like Zaxxon said, there's a couple different ways you can get there. You know, Circle of Life allows you to grab back the Alanondale from your discard pile. Donald Duck allows you to give the same ability that Granite Luminary would give if you can't leave it on board. But I think the cleanest way to set it up is you play a Monstro, you wait one turn, and then you play the Luminary, and bam, there's your combo. As long as you have at least like 7 inks to spare and then the cards in your hand, you can just dig for that. That's actually an insane line of play. If you guys did not get to see the live stream, highly recommend it, because second place, losing to Zanside in the finals was none other than Jonathan Williams, aka Dragon John Z, also a big name in the Lorcana community, taking it all the way to second place with Amethyst Steel, which a lot of people have been claiming is best deck, right? But I feel like Amber Amethyst has a pretty good matchup against that naturally. The Amber card pool in general, very notorious for having just heavy willpower characters, or like we were looking at, solid removal now for these evasive bodies, bro. When they play a Genie or a Tinkerbell or anything like that, you could just respond with Horseman Strikes before even setting up that infinite combo. But Amethyst Steel, still very strong. Huge shout out Dragon John Z, making it to second place of the Charlie's Collectibles Show 25K. Playing 4 Strength, 2 Thunderbolt, 2 Demona. There's always different ratios with everyone's Amethyst Steel deck. I think really what I want to touch on is the 3 copies of Olaf, the 1 cost character in Amethyst that says when this character is banished, you get to bounce one of your characters back to your hand, which is pretty strong. You can bounce back your dog, bounce back a Genie maybe, or something that has damage on it so you can make sure it's not in range for an opposing Cheshire Cat or something.
Small little correction. Olaf actually reads whenever this character leaves play,
Oh.
not just banished.
Oh,
So
yes.
that
Very
means
important.
when it goes to the hand, goes deck, or even to the inkwell, it is going to trigger, and
Ooh.
that can come up. Just want to go ahead and let you guys know that for anybody that is playing Purple Steel. John, my guy, I know you watch the videos. I know you listen to what I have to say. Keep it up, man. That fire is going to be sparked in you. You know, forever second place. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. I feel you, man. I feel you. But keep it up. Don't get discouraged. You're a beast. At this game.
Honestly,
And the deck-
honestly, two of my favorite players in the finals of this tournament, bro. Like at least from like the North American side, bro. Like there's some of my top players like in the game. Like to see them in the finals, man. I don't know if it was a game of luck or if Zanside is just thinking on another level, bro. Because that deck to have against his matchup just feels very, very like. I feel like if you're Zan playing 4 Horseman Strikes against his matchup, you feel like okay, I'm okay. Like I know what to do. Especially like when people kind of already have an expectation of what the meta is like, you can make a deck that kind of breaks the meta. But yeah, very crazy tournament. Go watch the stream if you haven't watched it.
Yeah, and to go into to the deck list a little bit, it's nothing that we haven't seen Purple Steel do before. I think the general consensus is that like we do like Olaf as our one of our 1-drops, and we're a little unsure if we like Doc or not. I know some people are big Doc believers, but it makes more sense if the Olaf's in your. So just kind of keep in mind with some of the combos that card can enable. But we have Timothy Q Mouse making the return again, and Mr. Smee. This is the evasive one, your turn 2-drop. And I have to say that we have seen less of these kind of cards and characters being played. Black Heron was a 2-drop that I know a lot of people were on, and there is none in your list. And we do have 3 copies of Cheshire Cat. I don't know if we're all on 4 or not. I feel like that card's a 4 of, but I think 3 is also fine and not bad. But I do want to point out 3 Lexington might be the way to go. There is a lot of cards that turn characters sideways, and I've seen people get punished, and it's hard to avoid a Demona. So when it goes sideways and you can't ready it, it does feel bad. And that way you have your other 3-drops like White Rose and Tinkerbell to stay readied and be able to be used on your next turn when that happens. But, you know, Horseman Strikes, taking out evasives. I don't know if we want to play Tinkerbell as much. What do you think about that, Kevin?
I like Tinkerbell a lot. Like Fast Fire Tinkerbell can just destroy the Sapphire matchup sometimes. So I do feel like it's worth it as a 2 of, right? And most of the time, if they Horseman Strikes my Tinkerbell, sure, don't Horseman Strikes my Iago and my Genie, please. That's what I'm hoping. That card's just so good though. Like if I'm like an Amber player, I'm saving it for the Genie or Iago. I want to mention I'm a 4 Lexington type of guy, and I'm definitely a 3 Cat type of guy. I don't think 4 is the move. I like 4 if you're playing Elephant, so you can do the wombo combo, bounce it back to your hand and whatnot. But I do think like Lexington is just so good. But I get what you're saying. When I'm playing against like these mirror matches and they drop a Demona on me, I tend to try and hold my Demona for their Demona so that they can't ready it. I always feel like I get so much value off of that. Or same thing, Elsa shoot down on Lexington, it stays sideways and it cannot swing back at your Elsa or your Genie, so it's pretty strong. And dude, Mr. Smee, way better than Black Heron. Like, why are we not playing the characters that swing over evasives? That one willpower, in my opinion, just not relevant. I've been saying it for a while, and I even told Zach to play the Mr. Smees at Milwaukee, no, not Milwaukee, at the Vegas event. You know, they didn't want to listen. They didn't understand the truth. But I think the evasive swingers are the truth, bro. Especially when you got Dumbo in your deck. You know, just more Dumbo targets. But I believe we were on Happy then. I believe Happy was the card that we wanted to play. Sorry, Zach, I got to put you on blast, man. I'm a Mr. Smee enjoyer, big Mr. Smee believer.
No, 2 points to Black Heron, and it's not to even go back and forth with Kevin, but like it can hold 2 damage, and I like 4 Cheshire Cat, so I think if you're building your deck around certain lines, there's things that you can do to help, you know, give you the edge or allow cards to resolve a lot more fluently. And so Black Heron worked a lot in that situation. Plus, Rubiam was really popular and moving damage counters was really relevant. So having extra strength was just really important the day I played it. Maybe not so much at this event. Maybe it's a read the room type of thing.
No, I don't disagree either. Like, I think especially with like you said, building your deck within certain lines, it makes a lot of sense. You're more of a four cat type of guy, so you want that extra willpower. And I think that's what you guys should kind of take away from this when you guys are building your Lorcana decks. And Lorcana's in a really cool space right now. I don't think there's necessarily like a best deck of the format. I don't know how you feel, Zach, but there's a lot of different decks that are topping these events, bro. Like, we have another deck list here from Daniel Keegan's. This is in the top cut of the Charlie's Collectible. This is a Emerald Sapphire deck playing 3 copies of Goofy the Expert Shipwright. Really interesting. This card, Quest for 3, gives you another character you have Ward. Kind of reminds me of the Alice Savvy Sailor, but I really like that this card is inkable. It's just so much better in my opinion. And you're probably giving Ward to some of your characters that can Quest for 3, like the Prince Philip, maybe your Clarabelle. This is a very interesting deck list, bro. You have 3 of the Alice Savvy Sailor, 4 Louis the Crocodile, which will give your opponents Reckless, and it's like very minimal characters. I love to see it, man. 2 Night Howler's Rage. This is an action that you probably haven't seen before. I thought it was buns. I tried it once before and I didn't like it. It's a 3-cost action. Draw a card, then chosen character gains Reckless during their next turn. Really interesting how you get to draw the card first, by the way. What do you think of this deck, Zach?
Yeah, so something I actually kind of want to point out is Hypnotic Strength does something like that too, where you draw the card first, then you make the choice. It just allows you to play more, you know, smoothly and make your decisions a lot more based on what you have after the fact. So I do like that. Honestly, though, this deck is really cool, but it follows the same core strategy that a lot of Sapphire decks like to do, and that's ramp on 2 and ramp on 4, but there's no T-pos. I think we are really considering that, you know, with the amount of characters and the amount of like removal people have, it may not be the best to have a card like Tipo around anymore. And we are still playing 3 copies of 1 Jump Ahead, so I do want that to kind of be put out there, that we have 7 ways to ramp on turn 2. And 4 copies of Develop Your Brain does make a lot of sense too, as like your only 1 drop. You don't really need to put anything under the board as that early, and you're kind of just building your Prince Philip combo, and getting that as soon as possible is it's also important too. So Night Howler's Rage makes sense because you draw a card, find more answers, and stop somebody from questing, which means they can't win the game that fast, and allows you to find more cards and allow you to play your John Silver, Alien Pirate, which again makes other characters reckless too. And if you're able to establish some bodies, you do have some songs like You're Welcome and Heffalumps and Woozles to also slow down that game plan and be able to Malicious, Mean, and Scary and Prince Philip them all the way. But yeah, Daniel, we met in Atlanta, and I've seen you around at other events. You know, I didn't know you were still playing, man. That's awesome. So congrats to you. And this deck is really cool. Hope some people get to try it out this weekend at their locals.
Being able to play a 3-cost character and then seeing 1 jump plus Cindy in the same turn, that's probably really impactful. And I think another thing about Tipo that I dislike is that it lowers your hand size. And right now, I feel like the hand size is kind of important in this game. And you kind of do need to be able to manipulate as many cards as possible in this hand for this deck, because you want to be able to ink as much as possible before you ramp to the end of that game. I think it's pretty cool, and it's definitely a strategy that I haven't really seen before. And last, I imagine that in the Sapphire mirror matches, oh dude, you're probably just like super favored because you get to go like Alice into Cindy into Goofy, and you're just questing for like 5, like super super quickly. So in those Sapphire Mirror matches, I feel like you might be up, right? I don't know. Maybe that's just my opinion. That seems pretty nice.
And here we have another purple steel deck piloted by Jonathan Lamb, aka Lamb Chops. And what? What is that I see? Is that four black Heron? Oh,
Exactly.
so I'm not the only one thinking that's and that's good to see. You know, a lot of innovation in this game. I know Lamb Chops is known for his blue steel decks, but you gotta play what's good when it is good. And purple right now, it's in one of the best spots it's ever been in. We also are, we're seeing this list still include some of the cards that Jonathan had, like Timothy Q Mouse, and we still have Demonas and Hades, but we have 2 copies of Hypnotic Strength. Now, I actually like this card a lot. I think that there is some relevance to being able to stop other opponents in mirror matches from having their 1-drop, like the Palace card, and there's a lot of illusions being played too. On top of that, there's Giant Cobra, and there's Iago, and some people are even messing around with Raja on top of the Black Heron, and it might be important to have the extra strength anyway to be able to trade up into some cards, but just the flexibility that the card gives is why I kind of like it right now. And we are playing the Genie Dragon. This is also evasive on your turn too, similar to how Jonathan Williams had the Mr. Smee. We are playing the Genie Dragon, but no White Rose. Now, I'm a big fan of White Rose. Kevin, do you like White Rose?
Not so much. I think it's a good card, but most of the time it just feels like you're playing a character for the sake of playing a character when I play White Rose on 3. But I will admit, my favorite thing is when you go Cobra into lethal, so drawing Doc into a White Rose for lethal also probably feels pretty good, right? And in top 8, we even have a Chromadogs deck, the Amber Emerald Lady and the Champ combo, where you slap Champ down on turn 3 or 4, and then you look for a Chromacon, you play the Chromacon, you start questing with everybody. Very strong deck, dude. I feel like Dogs is up with one of the best decks, and like we've been saying, the meta is just very wide right now. We were looking at like 5 different color combinations and different strategies within those color combos as well, but being able to play 1s and 2s really early on so that you have like 5 or 6 characters on board before your opponent's barely developing their 4th character is actually pretty strong. Who'd have thought? And I like the idea of using Della's Moonlight with Under the Sea to be able to, put characters back into the bottom of the deck. There's 3 Under the Sea in this deck. Kind of feels like it's a lot of uninkables, but I always just gotta stress, with Bobby and Scrooge McDuck here, you're able to just kind of cycle your hand. And one of my favorite plays with this deck to do is to play a Lady on turn 3, followed by an Ursula or Mowgli with that Lady, the family dog. That combo is just so strong, right?
Yeah, I just want to really emphasize that this deck only needs 3 ink to play. And so you can play a lot of uninkables when you only need to ink to 3.
True,
and
that's true.
You get to play the game as much as anyone else does, because you are getting to play multiple characters in a turn with the Lady Family Dog, and being able to find all the answers you need to with the Tramp and kind of filter in your hand to be the perfect combination of cards does allow you to win the race a lot better. The new tools it has with Della's Moon Lullaby and the Scrooge McDuck, the Shush Agent, is just extra ways of kind of like finishing off certain games that are a little harder to reach, or just removing some things that are just kind of getting in the way from you winning the game. So I really think that this deck's scary. I never like playing against this matchup. I personally, even though Purple Steel is favored into it, and I still feel bad because it's a lot more difficult when you're playing against somebody with some experience. But again, congratulations for making top 8 at this Charlie's Collectible Show. This was a massive tournament with some crazy big names, and it was not easy to do well at this event. So everybody that topped, congratulations.
All right, but this deck right here is broken. This is one of my favorite decks from this weekend, and we've been seeing it pop off in the last couple weeks or so. This is an Amethyst Emerald Burn deck piloted by Jacob Noel. Love to see a good aggro deck in the meta, man. I thought aggro was gone. I was worried that with no, Amber Steel aggro or no ways to, bounce back our 2 lore questers, I was worried. I'm like, where are the aggro players going to gravitate to? But now we have a new Burn deck that we can play, playing 4 Gathering Knowledge, 4 Amethyst Chromacon, 4 Show Me More. It's even playing 4 copies of the 2-cost uninkable Enigmatic Inkcaster. This is an item that says if you've played 2 or more cards this turn, you can exert this item and you gain 1 lore. Not too hard to achieve this either when you're playing a lot of 1-cost characters. It looks like 24 1-cost characters. Wow. Actually, no, there's 28 1-cost characters in this deck. Love to see it. With only a couple 2, 3s, and 4s after that, you really are sticking to a low to the ground strategy with the ability to burst lore with the right Rose, the Honey Marin, the Knowledge and Wisdoms, and probably one of the cooler abilities as well is to shift this Webby, especially against these Sapphire combos, or even against these other decks that aren't really ramping against you. You can essentially stop inking on like 2 ink, and every time your opponent inks for their turn, naturally, your Webby's just going to get that value. So I think that's pretty cool as well. And you really don't care about your opponent getting cards off of this Amethyst Chromacon because you're just trying to end the game as fast as possible and get to 20 before they're even able to remove your cards on the board, because you have cards that just say give me lore while you try and quest for lore.
Yeah, this burn deck is just going to really catch people off guard. And honestly, this is not like an aggro deck where you're always trying to like remove their characters because that's how they're gaining lore from you. There's so many ways to gain like
True.
passive lore or just non-interactive lore. Like Enigmatic Inkcaster is literally Sleepy's Flute in another font, and Show Me More, even though both players are drawing 3 cards, I more than likely am playing 2 of my cards that I just played if I even have 4 ink, because I can draw 3, play 2 1-drops, and again, even if I don't have 4 ink and I can go Show Me More, draw a 1-drop, I can play a 1-drop, gain a lore off Enigmatic Inkcaster. You have Amethyst Chromacon to also find you more cards. Show Me More into Gathering Knowledge and Wisdom has gotta also hurt too, and if you are playing against the blue decks, Webby is just gonna run away with the game. You're gonna have like 6 to 7 ink, you're gonna draw like 4 to 5 cards, and you're just gonna flood the board every time, and you don't really mind your opponent removing your cards. You do have a lot of ways of getting them back. You have the Diablo that does recur, and you are just constantly bringing back Scrooge McDuck if it's ever challenged. So that's another way to keep the cycle going. Honestly, just a matchup I'm not looking to ever have to play against. It's going to be a lot difficult if I'm on purple steel. The amount of removal you have is only enough, and trying to get under them might be a challenge with the amount of bodies that they're able to drop, and they just have ways of gaining that lore like Honey Marin and White Rose that you just can't interact with.
And before we move on from the Charlie's Collectible 25K, I want to give a huge shout out to Guillermo Mora, aka Memo, our homie member of Team Goons, who was playing this tournament and finished in top 16, actually losing out to the Amethyst Emerald burn deck that we just finished talking about. It's a really strong deck, man, and we got to witness how powerful it is to go very fast against these Sapphire decks. But Memo was playing it out, man. He was digging for that bend to my will in that game 3 to close the game out. I think that's what Sapphire Emerald is really good at doing, is finding every out possible to the board state, right? And now we're gonna briefly go over the second CCQ of the weekend. This was the 437 player lore league, and first place was Stefano Zamagni, taking down the current world champion DKP in a game 3 with Amber Emerald Chromadogs. Once again, Chromadogs, we're up, bro. This deck is really good. I'm telling you, I think this is one of the best decks of the format, if not best deck of the format. It has a good matchup across the board, and we're even seeing 2 copies of the Horseman Strikes in this matchup. We were just talking about how Horseman Strikes is so powerful in the Zan Syed combo deck because it just allows you to take down the Amethyst evasive characters, and sometimes that Amethyst Steel matchup can feel a little harsh because they have a lot of genies that you don't get to interact with. But now if they play a genie on 4 or an Iago on 4, then you can just Horseman Strikes it away. You get to draw an extra card, and you're still setting up extra lines of play. You just get to spam so many characters with this deck. You don't really mind kind of stopping, like Zach said, at 3 to 4 ink. You really don't even need to get at like 5 ink with this deck. But even if you do, you're able to still use a combination of cards like Chromacon plus 2 characters, Horseman Strikes plus a 2-drop, etc., etc. And it makes the deck just a little bit more powerful, don't you think?
There is a lot of power this deck has. It's just going to be able to produce the board's presence that not any other deck can replicate, because all these 1s and 2s are one thing, but then it drops 2/6 bodies for 1 to 2 ink, and it basically gets to add more cards back to its hand when it drops the 4/4 lady, and having more removal like Horseman Strikes is just a very niche thing that I haven't seen this deck do. So that is new, and I actually like it. There's just a lot of evasives, and most of the time it's not even that bad because it's inkable, but it's also a way of filtering and drawing cards. That finals match was crazy. I don't know if any of you guys got to watch it, but man, this deck can just put any deck on the ropes as quick as turn 4, and it was a fight. It was a fight, man. I watched that feature match. That was an amazing finals match, honestly. Congrats to you for taking this CCQ down. Another person invited to the ball.
And in second place of this CCQ tournament, reigning world champion DKP, aka Din Kong Fum, personal friend of ours, I'd like to add, by the way. Really cool guy, taking down yet another tournament, not entirely going all the way to the finals, but not being able to win the CCQ. But I mean, I think he already has his invite, no? Didn't he like finish in he finished in top 16 of Milwaukee, so he has his invite for North American, and I believe he's still trying to get his invite for the European Continentals. But Amethyst, Sapphire, Blurple, still a very strong deck. Look at this, guys. We have like 7 different decks, colors that we've talked about in this one video. I think Lorcana's in a really good space, like in terms of like meta capabilities. Like I don't know if you guys took the little survey for Whispers in the Well, like what like our opinions on the product and stuff. There are a lot of questions in there about like, is Dumbo a good card? Do you like the way the Mona or like the interactions and card mechanics? I just wrote, it's going to be really hard to ruin Lorcana on like the meta game space, like mechanically. Like I think the game is just designed so well. Like I don't think I'm ever going to be mad at like the meta of the game, to be honest. Like I don't think there's many cards that need to be looked at in terms of like sheer power. This card's broken, this card needs to be banned. I don't even think like Flaversham was that card, right? Bucky, the exception though. Point I'm trying to make is that I am very much excited for the future of this game. I really like the game mechanically, as always, just made me feel like it's a very good game to play. So I don't think we ever got to worry about that. It's just a very good meta to play in, don't you think?
Yeah, the meta is gotten very adaptive, and when one deck starts to do really well, its counter starts to show back up, and it's this cycle that keeps on repeating itself, and we don't really have like a secure best deck right now. Everybody gets a shot at what they like, and there are some other color combos that just aren't being explored. We saw it this weekend with Zan's win at the CCS CCQ, and we don't know when we could see it because this is honestly just a very, very, very good game. Honestly, I know a lot of people are always trying to break the meta and always trying to come out, but at the end of the day, consistency is really what gets you there. And we see DKP coming in with another consistent deck list. This purple deck is just featuring all the good Amethyst cards that it has to offer, like 4 Dumbo and 4 Genie. But I want to talk about the 4 Iago also being in this deck, really realizing that just big bodies and evasive ones on top of that was what going to win you a lot of games. And we still didn't shy away with 2 copies of Bell Accomplished Mystic. Just being able to have the massive amounts of removal that Amethyst has also now been given adds to Bell's kind of like, you know, power level, right? We have Hades and we have Demona now, but moving 3 damage does come up, and some people just don't see it coming.
I also do want to add that there's 3 Hypnotic Strength in this deck as well. Once again, more players taking into a consideration that they're going to be facing off against Iago mirror matches or Amethyst Steel decks with these illusion characters, and I think it's very relevant, right? We've seen some players cut the Iago out of their deck so that they don't get hit by Hypnotic Strength, but I think DKP went the opposite route, put 4 in the deck and said you better have all the outs to this, and added Hypnotic Strength to his deck so that he has outs to it as well. Just want to give a shout out to Dog of Wisdom here for making it to top 8 of this CCQ with Sapphire Steel. Sapphire Steel players, rise up. Your time is not done yet. I think this deck is still very strong. 2 copies of Ink Runners so you can give your characters the ability to swing over those pesky evasive characters. 2 copies of Beyond the Horizon, which I think is like one of my favorite cards in this deck. The ability to dump your opponent's hand when they have a bunch of cards and force them to only have 3 seems pretty strong in my opinion, right? But I think the best part of the Sapphire Steel strategy is just setting up Goliath, setting up Damari, and just dropping bomb after bomb after bomb.
Yeah, and the bombs that we're dropping are Vincenzo Santorini, the bomb expert. So we have to say that this card is just one of the better 7-drops that we have access to alongside the Hades Infernal Schemer, which we also play 4 copies of. And yeah, these characters in combination, like back to back, is just a lot for most decks to deal with. Like Hades being able to put like genies and Elsas away, while Vincenzo can take care of the Dumbos that come down, is just a way to put the Amethyst decks in their place and just go over the top with what your characters can do. And we also have 3 copies of Headless Horseman, so your 21 actions, you're bound to at least do 2 up to 4 damage on some characters on a good day. But because you're playing so many actions, that you could be playing against other like Sapphire or Emerald decks, and they have a lot of actions too, so you can get rid of a lot of their big threats like Clarabelle and Prince Philip with this Headless Horseman card. So I really like it a lot. We also have 2 Spooky Sight to kind of deal with those early aggro decks that we're seeing, the Chromadog decks, like just being able to go like turn 2 Tipo, turn 3 Cindy into turn 4 Spooky Sight is really clean. And if your Tipo's still on board, that means it's going to the Inkwell too.
I also want to add the Headless Horseman ability adds this extra little touch of RNG when you're playing this deck. Like I've tested against like some homies before, and when they drop this card, there's been times where it'll deal 6 damage. There's times where it deals 2 damage, and there's times where they force me to discard the cards in my hand that I really wanted to keep, bro. And I think that's like the hardest part about it. That card can be so tilting when you're just trying to like keep a strategy like alive in your hand, and then they drop the Horseman, and boom, they hit the cow, the Clarabelle you're gonna shift on, or the song you were gonna sing next turn. It's just so crazy. And last but not least, we have the $15 Meta Breaker by TSR Luminator. This was in the top 32 of this CCQ. If you guys want to play Lorcana and don't want to spend, like, the top dollar on the metagame right now, pivot to a deck like this. You don't even have to play the DLC Pegasus or the Enchanted Show Me Mores. You can play them common. No one's going to judge you. I play commons. I know Zach Stone like the shiny cards, though. But this deck's pretty good. Looks very similar to the one we just saw from the past CCQ, but it is playing 4 copies of Fred, which I think is a very strong card. There's not a lot of like Fire the Cannons-esque removal right now. I know Tinkerbell's a card, but it really just feels like Sapphire Steel is playing Tinkerbell. So I would like to assume that Fred is normally going to get challenged, right? So to me, it's looking like a 1-cost character that quests for 3. Outside of that, we have the 2 copies of Violet Saberwing, Evasive, being able to quest. I know we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, Zach, and you kind of asked, why would you be playing Pegasus in this deck? Like, everyone's just playing Evasive, it just dies. Honestly, I feel like Pegasus really stays on the board a lot, bro. Like, it's really just against certain matchups where the Pegasus has, like, a lot of vulnerability, and like we just talked about, no one's playing Happy, no one's playing Mr. Smee, no one's playing those 3-cost characters that really have evasive on their turn. People are cutting out certain versions of the certain copies of the Lexington, etc. So, I don't know. I think the low-cost evasive characters in a burn-style deck like this, pretty good.
Yeah, I do kind of want to, I was looking at this deck and I was honestly just thinking like, hey, how much would I charge for a deck like this? And honestly, it's like $25. Like,
yeah,
that is a cheap deck that it can honestly do very well at a lot of tournaments. I guess it could burn almost to my aggro strategy, and you get to win a lot of games because you just have so many ways of gaining lore out of nowhere with gathering knowledge and go-go, plus the additional honey marins that I don't think a lot of people realize was a card, honestly, and it's one of my favorite cards just because like the artwork is kind of funny. It's just like, a reflection in the mirror, and I always thought that was really cool. Cheap 1 and 2 cost characters is really where Core Lorcana used to be in its first chapter days, and those that remember Lemon Lime Aggro, this is kind of reminiscent to something like that.
Yeah, I also want to add that a deck like this is probably not even hard to make at your local game store if you have like community members who have this like bulk in their trade binder, or even at their house, bro. A lot of this stuff is commons and uncommons. I guarantee a lot of the homies at the game store have these lying around, and you could just ask them, hey, can you trade for these cards? They're like quarter cards. So for the most part, you're probably going to be able to build this deck for like dirt cheap, and I love that. And once again, it's winning. It's doing things. It's doing things in the metagame, and you got to respect this deck. I wonder now if we're going to start seeing some item removal, because now we're dealing with Chromacon, Amethyst Chromacon, and the Enigmatic Inkcaster. I think it's time for Benja to start making some ways back into the Steel game. I'm just saying, like, if there's no way I don't play some type of item removal in like the next tournament, like, right? But again, like we've been saying, it's kind of like the spice of the week. The decks that we're looking at right now might not be the same decks that I might respect for Richmond, which I still don't have a competitor badge for, which I really want a competitor badge for. So, I still hope. I'm checking Eventbrite every day, but I'm going as an attendee. Zach's going to Richmond as a competitor. So, I know, Zach, you're a little bit more thinking about, what's going to happen for this next month. How are your feelings towards the meta? Do you think you're going to, obviously, probably not, but have to respect a deck like the Infinite Combos and Sayed deck by that time? Or do you think we're going to have outs to it already? Because there are some outs to locations in the metagame. There's cards that say snipe a location from the hand,
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not going to be the answer. I think what's going to come down to is just kind of like keeping them off the board, right? Because let's kind of look at it objectively. They are going to be able to always have cards or the ability to draw cards, actually, and they won't be card starved, but they could be board starved, and you have to get them off the board as early as possible. Huey is probably one of the more prevalent cards, I think, to deal with, and honestly has like 0 interactivity, in my opinion, unless you start playing cards like Last Ditch Effort, stuff like that, which I don't think makes sense. I don't think it's worth it. So you're gonna have to obviously ignore cards like Huey, and you're gonna have to focus on a lot of your removal. We have Elsa in our Amethyst decks to be able to turn characters sideways and get some of the board, but again, you're not gonna have that privilege because they are going to be one character ahead of you with the Hueys and the Lanterns. So they're able to play their genies on turn 3, their Elsas on turn 4, and get rid of your characters a little bit easier. So it's just a tough navigation. I don't think we have enough tools in our deck. So I like the response of playing some like aggro burn styles because this deck has like no real counterplay and no real way of getting under it. Like nothing quests for 2 until you get to turn 4, and that's just a little too late against these aggro decks that are questing for 2 by turn 2. So that's probably the way to beat it. I can see the meta starting to shift away from some of the like Sapphire, Emerald, and Sapphire Steel decks because they're just a little too late to the party for some of the aggro decks. And I don't think they have too much counterplay into a matchup like this. Again, a lot of their rooms doesn't do much, and if you're going to be giving them a bunch of cards, you better have Bend to My Will to be able to stop them from having that win button. I will say though, Goliath might be an answer because keeping their card count down to 2 is going to be a lot difficult for them to pull the combo off, but if they have board presence, all they need is that great illuminary, and they'll just move everything in and get those cards and eventually find the combo again anyway. So I don't know if that's going to be the solid answer. I can't wait to see what's going to happen in this meta. Thank you to everybody still with us watching this video to the very end. We can't thank you enough. There are some people that are still watching our videos and aren't subscribed yet, so if you guys are not subscribed, we would really appreciate if you hit that button down below and put on notifications because every Monday and Friday these videos do come out. But we're gonna have a different little philosophy towards the next year. You know, we are going to look to add some more content for you guys, so make sure to stay tuned to that. And anything else that we're gonna say before we let our Lorcana goons go, Kevin?
Good luck to anybody playing any tournaments this week. I know set champs are coming out pretty soon. The meta is looking pretty spicy, and some of us are going to be flying out to some of these big tournaments. And I always say it in all the videos, it's really important to go play Lorcana right now. Go support your local game stores. Go join some tournaments, even if it's going to be your first one, because I guarantee you'll enjoy yourself. And always remember, it's a game. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes they get lucky, and it's all about getting to 20. So until then, remember to stay tuned to Lorcana Goons, and we'll see you goons next time.